You could, okay, the recording started. Perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I appreciate you joining the Planning Commission of the City of Chula Vista, and I apologize for the technical difficulties, but we're working through it. The time is 6:03 p.m., October 28th, and I would like to call this meeting of the Planning Commission to order. In the interest of public health and safety, and pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order N-29-20, members of the Planning Commission and staff are participating in this meeting by teleconference. In accordance with the Executive Order, the public may view this meeting online, but not in council chambers. The city launched a virtual commenting portal, e-comment, that allows residents to comment and participate in the meeting from their own homes. You can find the link to e-comment at www.chulavistaca.gov/virtual meetings. Your comments must be received before I call for the close of the commenting period in order to be considered. After the commenting period is closed, I will announce a brief pause to allow the commissioners time to read any comments that have been received. If you have any difficulties or need assistance with e-comment during the meeting, please email Ms. Salvacion at psalvacion, SALVACION, at chulavistaca.gov, and staff will assist you. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
I apologize. We do see that there is another commissioner trying to join. So Patricia is probably busy getting her on. So if we could just pause for a moment.
Will do. Commissioner Milburn, are you able to see and hear us?
Yes, I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
We can. Nice to have you, sir.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Vice Chair Zaker, I can call the roll.
Please go ahead.
Patricia, before you do, I see that Krista Burrows is trying to join as an attendee. If you could add her as a panelist, please.
Yes, I'm having a little bit of difficulties, but I'm working on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So Commissioner Burrows, I see, is trying to join. Commissioner De La Rosa.
Michael, please unmute yourself.
Here.
Okay. Commissioner Milburn.
Here.
Commissioner Nava.
Here.
Commissioner Torres.
Here.
And Vice Chair Zaker.
Here.
Chair Gutierrez has requested an excused absence. So we will vote on the approval of his absence at our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. So for our first item on the agenda, we have a special presentation tonight from our city manager, Ms. Maria Cachadorian. Maria, are you on the call?
I am.
Good evening. Welcome. Please take it away.
Thank you. I just want to take a couple of minutes of your time to introduce myself, even though I think I know most of you already. I've been with the city for, I'm going on 23 years now, but I just want to formally introduce myself as the new city manager here with the city of Chula Vista. I was actually appointed in June, and I cannot believe we're in October already. There's just so much going on. It's crazy. But I did want to let you know that, I have been appointed, and I've been very busy working with staff on, priority number one is trying to keep the city as safe as we can with the COVID crisis. We're doing everything we can in the city, have a lot of things happening. You probably heard some of the things that we're working on. We opened up our own testing site in the South Chula Vista Library because we wanted to provide additional options for the community in the South Bay to get tested. So a lot of my efforts have been having a lot of meetings with staff to make sure, again, that we're doing what we can to try to keep the community safe. And I do appreciate your patience as we have been transitioning into this virtual world of meetings. We're doing this all day long at City Hall, having meetings on all the different projects we're working on. besides the COVID crisis, a lot of my time right now is being spent on the Bayfront project. We're working with the port and the RETA developer to move this project forward. We are drafting legal documents. We're hoping to bring them forward to the city council either in December or early next year. That'll get the legal structure down, and we can move forward with the validation process. And hoping that we can bring the financing forward for consideration next summer is kind of the timeline that we're trying to work towards. So that's been taking up, besides everything else we're doing here at City Hall, really trying to focus on making sure that project gets across the finish line. So again, a lot of good things still happening, even though we're working virtually. Just to, as you know, because a lot of you live here, of course, is, about 80% of the staff are still coming into work every day. We have police, we have fire, we have public works, we have people in library that are coming in because they've transitioned what they're doing over to helping support the community in a different way. But we do have about 20% of the staff that are still working off-site. A lot of development services staff you work with very closely are working from home. So you're probably going to be hearing a little bit more about what they're doing to try to create more efficiencies as we're transitioning into, again, this online world that now we're all in, more so than we were before. But really just wanted to take the opportunity to just formally introduce myself, even though, again, I think I've met most of you, if not all of you. And thank you for the work that you do, and it's important the city continues to grow. So with that, that's really where I came, is just to say bye.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. We know you have a big job ahead of you, and we're just very excited that you are our city manager. And the very best to you, your staff, and we truly appreciate the work that you're all doing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
And the second item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. But we are going to approve two sets of minutes, commissioners. So we're looking at the June 24th. Go ahead, Commissioner Milburn. You have your hand up.
Don't we need to do the Pledge of Allegiance as well?
Actually, we will not be doing that on this agenda tonight.
Okay.
I guess that presented some technical difficulties at the last session. The city clerk decided to not include that. But thank you for bringing that up. So we are looking at approving two sets of minutes. The minutes of the Planning Commission meeting June 24th and July 22nd. I will entertain a motion if one of the commissioners would like to put a motion forward. Motion made by Commissioner Milburn. Is there a second? Commissioner De La Rosa, thank you. All in favor, please say aye by raising your hand. Any nays? Any abstentions? Minutes of the June 24th and July 22nd are approved.
Vice Chair Zager, could we please allow for the 2 minutes for any public comment?
Very good. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and pause for 2 minutes for any public comments. So can you please put the clock on the screen so that I can keep track of it?
Yes, will staff please display the timer? Thank you.
Okay, as a reminder for the commissioners, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure any new comments appear on your screen. The commenting period for this item is now closed.
Commissioners, no comments were received.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, the next item on the agenda, item number 3, is a request for an excuse absence from Commissioner Nava for the July 22nd meeting. Is there a motion to approve that request?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner De La Rosa. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Torres. Please vote by raising your hand.
Commissioners, I will request each member's vote by roll call. I know Commissioner Burrows is still having some technical difficulty, but Commissioner De La Rosa,
Aye.
Commissioner Milburn,
Aye.
Commissioner Nava. Commissioner Nava, you're muted.
Aye. Can I vote on this?
Commissioner Torres
Aye.
and Vice Chair Zaker.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, looks like motion carries. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Do commissioners have any clarifying questions for staff before we go to public comment?
Chair.
Commissioner De La Rosa, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, just a quick question, just for clarification for future purposes, my own knowledge. Can a Commissioner Nava ask if he could vote on his own excused absence? Can we do that in the future, or can he do that just for clarification?
Do we have legal counsel on the call tonight?
I can double check with the city clerk on that.
I'm here,
Oh,
Vice Chair Zaker. This is Mike.
Good evening, Mr. Shari. So question is, can Commissioner Nava vote on a motion to?
Yes, he can. It's fine.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Nice to see you.
Good to see everyone.
Okay, I will not call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on the items before the commission or before commission deliberation. Again, as a reminder, commissioners, please refresh the view on your screen to see any new comments that will appear. Madam Secretary, would you please put up the timer?
Commissioners, no comments were received.
All right, thank you for that. Mr. Shirey, as I'm reading through the agenda tonight, I want to make sure that I meet the requirements. Have we met the public comment section requirement? Have we met the requirement, or do I need to call for another 2 minutes? Mr. Shirey, are you there?
I'm here. I got pushing buttons here.
Okay.
Isn't that what we just did? Wasn't that the
Yeah.
public comment?
All right, because as I read my agenda, I see that there was a public comment section after the taking a vote, and then right after there's another public comment section. So I wanted to make sure that we met the requirements.
No, we met the requirement just now when we had the 2-minute session.
Excellent. Then the commenting period for public comments is now closed. Have the commissioners had time to read any comments? And it sounds like we received none. Would you confirm that, Madam Secretary?
That's correct. No comments were received. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you for that. The next item on the agenda is item 4. And does staff have any presentation on this item?
Yes, I have a presentation.
Okay. Jeff, go ahead, please.
Stacy, could you go ahead? Good evening, Commissioners. The project before you this evening is a request for the Planning Commission to approve a proposed project consisting of 72 multifamily units on a 2.67 acre site located at 1350 Industrial Boulevard. Next slide, please. The 2.67 acre project site is semi-rectangular shaped with sides ranging in length from 216 feet along the rear property line to 539 along the south side to 425 feet along the north and 325 feet of frontage along Industrial Boulevard. The site also contains a drainage channel, which is considered a disturbed wetland, that traverses the site along its southern boundary and has an average width of approximately 40 feet, which reduces the developable area of the site. As a condition of approval, this wetland area will be cleaned up, restored, and managed in perpetuity. The proposed use is allowed at this location, and the site is designated as Palomar Residential Village. It is located within the Palomar Gateway Specific Plan. The specific plan encompasses 100 acres surrounding the Palomar Trolley Station, with land uses and development standards intended to encourage and facilitate infill pedestrian scale development, mixed use urban amenities, transit use, creative design, and the general revitalization of the Palomar Gateway District. Please note that a prior project on this site by both a different applicant and a different owner was approved by the Planning Commission on May 13, 2015 to allow for a 42 townhome unit project with associated parking and open space. The site is currently vacant but was previously developed with a large single-family dwelling which was demolished in 2018. Please note that there was a typo on page 21 of the agenda packet which indicated that this was previously undeveloped, but it was previously developed with a single-family dwelling. Next, please. As shown on this aerial map, the project site is located on the west side of Industrial Boulevard between Ada and Dorothy Streets in the vicinity of the Palomar Trolley Station. The site is surrounded by residential to the north, east, and south. Also to the south is an existing church. To the east is the trolley lines, and to the northeast is the Palomar Trolley Station. To the southeast beyond the trolley lines is existing residential. The next few slides are the project site and the surrounding area. This is a view looking westerly into the site from the northeast property line along Industrial Boulevard. This is a view looking northeasterly from the eastern portion of the site. You can see the backyard fencing of properties along Ada Street and the chain link fence at the street frontage. This is a view looking northwesterly where you can also see the backs of the homes along Ada Street in the distance. This is looking southwesterly from the eastern property line along Industrial Boulevard, where you can see the wetland area and the church site beyond the southern property line. This is looking southwesterly from the site, looking west towards the wetland area. And this is also looking on site southerly towards the wetland area. Again, you see the church site in the background. This is from the site looking east towards Industrial Boulevard. You can see the back fences of Ada Street. Please note that the applicant will be providing their own fencing when the project is constructed. This is a view looking southeasterly from the site towards the Industrial Boulevard, where you can also see in the foreground the wetland area as well. This is looking northeasterly from the eastern edge of the site, where you see the trolley and the trolley lines. As shown on the site plan, the project proposes to construct 72 market rate multifamily units housed in a single structure along the northern portion of the site. Due to the existing topography, the building consists of a stepped 3- and 4-story structure with podium parking below. Please note that no affordable units are required for this project, in that it is located within one of the census tract areas exempted by the city adopted Balanced Communities program. This here is a slide showing the areas of the city which are exempt based upon this Balanced Communities program. The area highlighted in red are those areas, and this project is located within that area as well.
Sorry about that. I didn't hear anything.
The project site has been designed to complement the natural slope topography of the site and the natural habitat. The residential building is proposed to be located on the north side of the property, furthest away from the wetlands, open space on the south side, in order to allow for the outdoor activity area to be located in close proximity to the wetland open space. The linear orientation of the residential building allows for the entry to be in close proximity to the street, while at the same time provides screening of the parking area from the street. This helps achieve two of the goals of the specific plan of providing for a more pedestrian-oriented project, as well as screening the parking from street view. Decorative concrete paving will be provided to highlight the 2 points of gated pedestrian access for residents, one to the residential building and one to the clubhouse building. Primary vehicular access into the site will be provided by approximately 32-foot wide driveway off Industrial Boulevard. The drive aisle is proposed to increase to 39 feet, which would allow for dual entry aisles and single exit aisle to be provided at the driveway entrance. This main entrance would then circulate through the main southern portion of the parking field and provide ingress-egress to the podium parking, and would then continue by making a loop around the residential building, providing egress only onto Industrial Boulevard. Next slide, please. This slide shows the proposed colors and materials, or excuse me, this is the proposed architecture, which will be considered contemporary. The building orientation and the series of vertical wall offsets of the single apartment building is proposed to emulate the appearance of multiple structures, thus reducing the overall visual mass and scale of the multifamily building. Within each of the wall offsets, multiple styles of balconies, railings, and finishes, and varied roof heights and window canopies provide additional elements within each offset for a varied building facade. This slide shows the proposed colors and materials for the building. Note that there are two contrasting colors that are beige and burnt umber, which define the color scheme of the lower portion of the building, with plank siding on the upper levels. The applicant is proposing a total of approximately 29,000 square feet of combined private and common open space, which exceeds the amount required based upon the proposed unit count. The site layout has been designed strategically so that the outdoor space recreational activity can be located in close proximity to the wetland open space area on the south. This includes a walking path along the wetland corridor, tot lots, sport court, and clubhouse. Note that while the wetland areas also provide for passive open space, this area has not been included in the overall open space calculation. The proposed project has been evaluated pursuant to the provisions of the specific plan, development regulation standards, and city design manual and found to be consistent with them. Thus, the applicant meets the findings of fact required to approve the project. The proposed project would provide a residential project on a vacant site and would contribute to the revitalization and enhancements of the site. Staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the project and adopt the resolution granting the design review permit. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your presentation, Jeff. Now, before we go into the public comment section, do the commissioners have any clarifying questions for staff? Again, I'm only entertaining clarifying questions. I only see Commissioner Nava on my screen. I don't see other commissioners. So if you're raising your hand, I can't see you. Please speak up.
I've got a question, Max.
Go ahead, Commissioner Milburn.
Yeah, I was concerned a little bit about the entryway. There's two entrances, right? There's a northern and a southern entrance onto industrial.
Yes, the main entrance is going to be where you're going to have the two drives in and one out. And then as you go around toward the northern portion of the building, that's going to be for egress only. So that's if you notice there, the parking spaces are kind of angled. So that's basically the direction of travel. So you're only going to be able to get out for the northern exit there.
Okay. And that being an exit, is there any concern about the closeness to that traffic circle and the median prior to that?
I don't believe we got any comments regarding that, but I'm sure that that's something that's going to be worked out during the construction phase of the project.
Okay.
Commissioner Milburn, if I may, do you mind, these are all great questions, but at this point, I'm looking for any clarifying question. If you don't mind, maybe hold off until we get into the deliberation, and perhaps we have the applicant with us as well, so maybe they can respond. Is that okay with you, sir?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Any other commissioners, any clarifying questions? Now, I have a question for staff. I know one public comment was submitted to us in our packet, and I thought there was a second, but then I got an email that it was the same. Can someone clarify whether we have received one public comment or two that was included in the packet?
It was the same comment. It was both comments were the same.
Okay, excellent. And then my second clarifying question is, please, if I heard you correctly, that this site was previously developed and there were 42 single-family homes on the site. Did I hear that correct?
No. What I to say was there had been a previously approved project for 42 townhome units that was never constructed. What I was indicating, though, is the site was previously developed in the past with a large single-family residence, which was since demolished back in 2018.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So if there are no other questions from the commissioners, I am not going to call for.
I have a clarifying question.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. There we go. Now I can see you. Go ahead, please.
Okay, just real quickly. Jeff, you mentioned in your presentation that no low and moderate housing was required for this specific project because the project lies within what's called a neighborhood stabilization area or something to that effect. And it basically encompassed almost the entire west side of Chula Vista. And Excuse me. I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on that, because that's the first time I've heard that. I'm relatively new to the commission, 2 years, and if you could just elaborate a little bit more on that. And then if also, Jeff, if you could, as staff, at least provide to me, I don't know if any of the other commissioners would like that, but if you could provide me a little bit of information about that program, any related municipal codes, any guidelines, anything that would help further educate me on that, because again, this is the first time ever I've heard about that in any city, actually, and then in particular in Chula Vista. So if you could just, help us a little bit more to understand that.
Okay, I don't know if Leilani Hines was able to join our meeting or not. I asked her if she could in case questions like this came up. What I do know is that this balanced community policy was adopted by the City Council as part of the general plan housing element back in 1981. And I think that for more information, I would probably want to defer to Leilani, who knows all the background information, but I had corresponded with her prior to the meeting, and this was the information that was provided from her, that this particular area, this project was exempt from the requirement to provide any affordable housing per this policy.
Well,
Jeff, this is Stacy. This is Stacy Kurtz, and I'm a senior project coordinator with the Development Services Department, and I previously worked in the housing division. I actually took the item forward for the Balanced Communities policy. So we developed some guidelines, and I think around 2012, it was basically after the recession where there was the desire to allow the market to kind of recover. And so an item was taken forward to City Council at that time. It may have come through Planning Commission as well. I don't recall. But essentially that policy and those guidelines were adopted to establish different thresholds for the inclusionary housing or balanced communities policy. And as part of that, there was this portion of Western Chula Vista that was exempted from the requirement of the inclusionary housing policy. And then the Bayfront area also was adjusted to allow for variances. So certain findings need to be made for affordable housing exemptions within the Bayfront area. So,
Okay.
but certainly we can have Leilani elaborate with you later on, and it is contained in the housing element.
We've gotten presentations on the housing element, and this is the first time I've heard this. So if you could just correspond with Leilani, if she could provide us that information. And the reason why I'm kind of talking about this is because the Planning Commission is being presented various infill projects, okay? And since my tenure being on the commission, I think this is like about, I don't know, maybe about the 5th project, infill project in the West Side. And this is the first time this has come up. So if you could, Stacy, and Jeff, if you could communicate with Leilani and have her through the chair or through council, I don't care what process, if you could have her provide us more information about that, so that way it doesn't become a point of conflict in future meetings needlessly. With me?
Yeah, absolutely, we'll do that. And just to clarify further, the inclusionary housing policy only applies to developments when it's 50 or more units. So anything that came to you under 50 units, it wouldn't have applied no matter where it was in the city anyway.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Any other questions? I hear none. Madam Secretary, would you please put up the timer? So I'm going to pause for 4 minutes for public comment.
Yes, will staff please display the public comment and start the timer? Thank you.
And while the timer's going, sorry, this is Tiffany. Can we just clarify this request for additional information on the Balanced Communities program? Is this a referral for staff to come back with an official report?
Well, if I understood Commissioner Torres's request, that, you know, the commission, either through the commission or through the council or directly to the commissioner, if it's deemed appropriate, additional information specifically about the inclusionary, specific about this area that's been kind of set aside. And quite frankly, it's the first time I hear of it as well. So I'm not sure how other commissioners feel about it, if you would like some additional information as well. Did that answer your question, Tiffany?
Yeah, I guess just if we could hear from the other commissioners, or just if somebody can maybe, I don't know, Mike, if there should be like a motion for this to be a referral, and then we would come back with a report, or what's the best way?
Hi, this is Mike. Here's what I recommend, Tiffany, that Leilani send a quick email with any backup information like she usually does. She's very good at it, explaining what this area is, and just send it to the commission. And then I would just remind the commission not to respond to the email. And then after you take a look at it, if there's more discussion needed on it at one of our next meetings during commission comments, that could be brought up, and we can then just not talk about it at that time, but see if we need to do more about it. I think if Leilani sends you an email and background information, you'll be good.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Just want to make sure we're giving everybody what they need.
Okay, the commenting period for this item is now closed. Did we receive any comments either in favor or opposed to this item?
Commissioners, this is Patricia. One written communication was received on this item, which has already been shared with the commissioners. No other
Okay.
comments were received.
All right, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. So the public comment is now closed, and we're going to go, we're going to proceed now with Commissioner's deliberation. And I know Commissioner Milburn, you had some comments and questions about the ingress egress. Would you care to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. Yeah, I just had a concern about that northerly exit on the property into Industrial Boulevard being close to not only the traffic circle, but there's a median, I guess, prior to the traffic circle with some trees growing out of it. Just concerned that, you know, making sure that maybe the city engineer took a look at that.
Any comment from staff?
Steve, the city engineer fully reviewed the plan, traffic engineer as well, but we can definitely refer your comments back to them and make sure that they take another look at it. But I'm sure, I know they've looked at it carefully, but we'll definitely take a second look at it if you want.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments? And again, I apologize. I only see Commissioner Milburn and Nava on my screen. So if you're raising your hand, I apologize. I don't see you.
Vice Chairman Zaker?
Yes, go ahead.
This is Commissioner De La Rosa. Just real quickly, I believe you mentioned it earlier. This is the one where we received a comment letter for an adjacent property owner. Is that correct? Am I recalling that correctly?
That is correct, and that public comment was included in the packet.
Okay, and I'm just on one screen here, so I'm a little challenged on trying to figure that out. If I wanted to inquire in terms of, I don't know if it was a private property issue in terms of the, I think the parcel delineation or the parcel boundaries, but I wanted to see what staff's response was to that, and if that is a matter that staff can address, or how we responded to that letter and to the concerned adjacent property owner.
Anyone on staff care to respond to Commissioner De La Rosa's comment?
Yeah, staff did send a response and indicated that this was a private matter, but it was going to be responded to directly by the developer, who subsequently did phone them this morning and explained the situation, the fact that they had the survey of the site and everything. And as far as I understand, that the issue has been resolved, but the applicant is here if you would like to ask him the question as well.
Well, it does make sense. I couldn't, honestly, again, if it was a civil matter between two private property owners, the only reason I was asking, one, to respond to those who took the time to comment, and then two, if it has to do with the property line, understanding that's usually a civil matter, but in regards to the unique layout of this property design and the setback requirements, wanted to know if that affects the project moving forward in any way. It sounds like it doesn't, but if staff can clarify, how would that proceed if, again, if they came to an agreement, that's fine, but if how would that proceed if we were to approve a project and then those boundary lines would somehow adjust? Would it just come back to council, or how would that work?
I don't believe that there's any effect on this in terms of the project boundary lines. The project was previously surveyed, so I think it's pretty clear where the boundary lines are. As a matter of fact, based upon that survey, some of the fencing, some of the backyard fencing along some of the sites on Ada Street actually are currently within the project site itself. So the developer plans on, when they actually construct the project, they plan on working with the different property owners because they are going to have to move some of the fencing. And so they'll be doing a combination of providing a new fencing that will work for both of them. So it's just going to vary because it's a, you know, the area along Ada Street is an older area. So the fencing has been there a long time. Some project into the site, some don't. So that's all something that's going to be worked out during the time of the wetland restoration and also the site construction.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. That my concern was more is that if the site was surveyed and if it's a legal lot or the boundaries were decided, then yes, in fact, the project as it's designed, staff evaluated that, and where the fence may be, whether it's on the boundary or not. I mean, the two property owners can decide and figure that out from a civil issue if one has a different impression. But you've clarified that question, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions from the commissioners or comments? No?
Commissioner Zaker, I did have one follow-up question regarding the previous question Commissioner Torres had about the affordable housing. Since it's not required, I assume that they will not be providing any affordable units in this development.
That's correct. It's all proposed to be market rate.
Okay, thank you.
And I have a question. This is just from my own knowledge. Again, I understand in 2015, the applicant was approved to build 42 units on the site, single-family residence, and obviously that didn't happen. Now they're presenting us with a new plan to build 72 units. Obviously, the density has increased, which I have to assume is due to the market conditions. But beyond the market conditions, our staff or the applicant, if you care to respond, were there any other reasons that you have redesigned and essentially completely redesigned your project?
Jeff, my name is Michael Kinosta. I'm the architect retained by the ownership, and I want to clarify: the previous development was by a different property owner.
Okay.
The current ownership bought it after the approved process. So it's a different ownership group. I want to clarify that. So, okay.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I apologize if I've made the assumption it's the same applicant. Thank you for providing that information.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions by my fellow commissioners on this specific item?
Not a question, but if I may, since this project is in my neck of the woods, I just want to commend the applicant. I think it's vastly needed in that area. And first, I don't believe in gentrification, okay? And I'm a strong opponent of gentrification. But I don't believe that this falls into that category per se. That's why I was a little bit taken aback by that caveat with regard to the balanced neighborhood program. But nevertheless, I think it's an appropriate housing development in that area, one that's greatly needed, and I support it.
Thank you, Commissioner Torres. I hear no other questions or comments by commissioners. At this point, I will entertain a motion if anyone cares to make a motion to move the project forward.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Torres. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Milburn. Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call and vote?
Yes. I will now ask each member's vote by roll call, please. Commissioner Burrows?
Yes.
Commissioner De La Rosa?
Yes.
Commissioner Milburn?
Aye.
Commissioner Nava?
Aye.
Commissioner Torres?
Aye.
And Vice Chair Zaker?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Well, congratulations to the applicant. The project is approved by all commissioners present, with the exception of Chair Gutierrez. So it was a unanimous decision. So again, we appreciate the applicant, appreciate your work, and we wish you best of luck as you begin your construction and look forward to the completion. I'm sure this will bring a ton of value to that neighborhood. So thank you for that. And moving on to item number, let's see here. These are misnumbered here. Bear with me 1 second.
It'd be item number 5.
Item number 5, it's actually stated at number 3. I think it's a typo. So item number 5, do staff have any presentation on this item?
I do.
Please proceed.
Hi, my name is Scott Donnie. I'm with the Development Services Department, Advanced Planning Section. The item before you tonight is MPA 20-0002, which is a consideration of amendments to the Chula Vista Municipal Code, sections 1958.022 for accessory dwelling units, 1958.023 for junior accessory dwelling units, and chapters 19.22, which is the residential estate zone, chapter 19.24, which is the single family residential zone, chapter 19.26, which is a 1 and 2 family residence zone, chapter 19.28, which is the apartment residence zone, chapter 19.30, which is administrative and professional office zone, chapter 19.36, the central commercial zone, chapter 19.48, the planned community zone, and lastly, chapter 19.84, which is the Bayfront specific planned land use zone. As some of you are aware, on January 1st, 2020, the state of California enacted new laws to encourage affordable development, but also to encourage the development of accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units. The laws contain modified and new regulations for ADUs and JADUs, which local municipalities must incorporate into their ordinances. Any ordinance, such as the one that we have in the city of Chula Vista, that doesn't comply with these new regulations became null and void as of January 1st, 2020. And people would refer back to those state laws at this point. I'm going to give you just a brief overview of some of the things that changed in this last iteration. ADUs are permitted in zones where any residence is permitted. That includes mixed-use zones such as commercial and residential mixed-use zones. ADUs are also permitted within multifamily dwellings in areas that are not used as livable space. This may include such things as storage rooms, boiler rooms, passageways, attics, basements, or garages. Multiple ADUs are also allowed on lots that are developed with an existing multifamily unit. When it gets to the size of an ADU, attached ADUs shall not exceed 50% of the total floor area of the existing or proposed primary residence, 850 square feet or 1,000 square feet for a unit that provides more than one bedroom, and that's whichever is greater. And for some reason, my slides isn't advancing. Stacey, is there a way that you can take over?
Let me double check here.
Yeah, frozen.
Will it move now?
Yes.
Okay.
So where I was at is we were talking about sizes, and I just went over what attached ADUs were. So detached ADUs are also permitted, and they shall not exceed 1,200 square feet. ADUs can be attached or within a proposed or existing primary residence, attached garage, or any other accessory structure. ADUs may be attached ADUs may be detached from the proposed or existing primary residence as well. An additional 150 square feet can be added for ingress and egress for an ADU within existing accessory structure. So if you had an existing garage, let's say in the backyard, and you needed to add additional square footage to it, you could up to 150 square feet for ingress and egress. One of the biggest things I think that changes is that detached ADUs shall observe a minimum of 4-foot rear and side yard setbacks. So that's a little bit different and a little bit updated in this code. ADUs are, this is another interesting part, is ADUs are not required to provide parking if they're within a half mile of transit, if they're within a historic district, if they're part of a proposed or existing primary residence, in any areas where parking permits are required but not offered, and if they were within 1 block of a car share area. Attachment 3 to your staff report is a map of the city that shows all of the areas in the city that are within a half mile of transit, and that probably covers a good 90% of the city. If a project were not in with one of those areas, it would be required to provide parking, but parking should not exceed 1 space per unit or bedroom, whichever is less, and I think that means 1 space per unit. Replacement parking is not required for an ADU when a garage or carport is converted or demolished to construct the ADU. And then the last thing that had changed is new ADUs and junior accessory dwelling units cannot be rented for less than 30 days. We're proposing to make that as of the effective date of this ordinance and going forward, so that wouldn't have an impact on ADUs or JADUs that have already been permitted. Non-conforming conditions cannot prohibit an ADU or JADU application approvals. We have a new 60-day limit to process ADU and JADU building permits. ADUs can coexist with JADUs on the same lot within a single-family dwelling. JADUs are allowed in proposed or existing single-family residences or existing accessory structures. And JADUs, one thing that differentiates them from ADUs is JADUs do require owner occupancy. The amendments to the accessory dwelling unit and junior accessory dwelling unit ordinance and the Chula Vista Municipal Code will bring the ordinance into compliance with state law and will better facilitate affordable housing development in the city of Chula Vista. We're recommending that the Planning Commission recommend adoption of the proposed amendments to the Chula Vista Municipal Code. This project is MPA 20-0002, and we're recommending approval to the City Council. Thank you. That concludes staff's presentation. I'm available for any questions or comments.
All right, thank you to staff for your presentation. So let's see if commissioners have any clarifying questions. Again, please limit your questions to those that are clarifying the presentation, and then after the public comment, we'll go into deliberation. Any of the commissioners?
I have a question, Max. Scott?
Go ahead, Commissioner Nava.
Scott, I don't know if it's a question, but is there anything on the municipal code that kind of regulates, architecture compatibility of these ADUs in relation to like the existing resident or the area where they at, or is it, can somebody just bring like a lifeguard station and turn it into an ADU?
We do have a little bit of authority in that thing, especially when it comes to historical districts. But outside of historical districts, we're asking that they be complementary or compatible in appearance with the other structures on the site. But we're pretty limited in what we could do. There used to be a lot of design standards. You'll see them being struck out. But we're pretty limited in what we can do per state law.
What about like prefabricated units? Are those allowed in the city?
Certainly.
Okay. That was it. Thank you. Scott.
Any other clarifying questions from the commissioners? Now I have a, can you elaborate on, I thought I saw a line, something about a 60-day limit on permit process or something. Can you say a little more about that? What does that mean?
Correct. So the new state law says that we have 60 days from the time that we take in a complete application for an accessory dwelling unit to approve it. And it doesn't say anything further of whether that's building permit or whether that's a planning process or whatever. The read from HCD, from Housing and Community Development, the state has been that that's total, that's to get a building permit. But they've told us also that we have the ability to stop that clock by either deeming the application not complete because they don't meet something, or just denying it and telling them to reapply when they have a more complete application. But it limits us to 60 days.
Wow, because this is big news. At least one of the complaints that I hear in my line of work from people is that it always takes longer. So, and of course sometimes it's warranted, but assuming that if they submit a complete application, we're saying that a permit needs to be issued within 60 days. Is that correct?
If they submit a complete application and it meets the building code and there's no other outstanding issues, it will be approved within 60 days. That's
fantastic. That's great news. Okay, any other questions, comments, commissioners?
Commissioner Ziegler, I had one.
Go ahead, sir.
Could you repeat I think there was a owner occupancy requirement for the junior ADUs. Could you repeat that part?
Correct. You may remember in the last go around, the state removed the ability of the city to require owning occupancy for the accessory dwelling unit, for the full accessory dwelling unit. So when you look at the code today, you'll see just a note that this section is held in abeyance until January 1st, 2025. So for the next 5 years, we can't require owner occupancy in an accessory dwelling unit. That's a little bit different when you get to a junior accessory dwelling unit. And a junior accessory dwelling unit is typically a room, within a house, within an existing or proposed house or something. Within that, we are still allowed to ask for owner occupancy within that house. And we do in this proposed ordinance.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I will now call for a 4-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on the item before the commission deliberation. Can staff please put the timer up? Patricia?
Yes, I'm here.
According to my agenda, we need to have a 4-minute timer for public comment, and I see it looks like we have a 2-minute timer. Did I get that right?
4 minutes is correct. We can do another 2 minutes after this one.
Okay, it looks like what you have up is a 2-minute timer. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We're just going to add another 2
Chair
minutes.
Zaker, I do believe it was a 4-minute timer up because I just restarted it and it restarted at 4 minutes.
Okay, I apologize. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Commissioners, no comments were received.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, so no public comments were received, and at this point, I am going to close the commenting period for this item, and we're going to go ahead into commissioner deliberation. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments? Again, I only see Commissioner Nava and Milburn, so if you have your hand up, I apologize. I don't see you. Just jump right in.
Vice Chair, this is Commissioner Del Rosa. I do. I don't know where I am in line, but I do have some comments and questions.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. In regards to these, understanding that we are updating the code to comply with state, I wanted to ask if staff has done an assessment in regards to, I know that there was a map showing where these properties or what properties would be meet the criteria to allow for ADUs. I was curious in terms of there was an assessment done in regards to what properties would actually meet the 4-foot rear and side setback to understand how many units would actually be produced by this effort. I don't know if staff has a response to that or has any idea.
No, we haven't done any additional work in that arena to try and kind of game out how many of them could have accessory dwelling units. I think.
Okay. And I'm just wondering if these units would count for the Chula Vista's RENA numbers.
The answer is like a qualified. They could. In addition to counting them, we would have to prove out that they actually are being rented at affordable rates. Which I think a lot of these are more market rate and are renting for whatever they can get, for an accessory dwelling unit. So far as us meeting our RENA, we haven't gone down that road yet because it causes another bunch of work to have to be done, which is kind of trying to figure out what people are renting these things for.
Okay, understood. I would, in terms of doing staff's evaluation and during that time, it would be interesting to know where, even though you have a map showing the properties that would be eligible, it would actually be interesting to know how many units may be produced that meet that criteria, because as you said, the 4-foot rear and setback seems to be new. And just in terms of the expectations, in terms of the housing supply, these affordable units would, that may be helpful information. Secondly, I wanted to ask, and just in terms from a safety standpoint, just to clarify, when applying for these ADU, it is still required for the resident to get a building permit, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I just, in all fairness to not only the property owner, but to the potential inhabitants of that, wanting to make sure that those units are safe. And, if I'm curious in terms of, there's an enforcement element of this as well, in terms of if people have questions about what is legally permitted and what is not, correct? As Commissioner Nava has asked in terms of, wanting, if there's any design criterias, and it may be limited, but to be fair to other residents and to the future occupant, I'm just wondering if is there a code compliance? This is something that folks could go to code compliance and check, or the building department and check to see if something's permitted, correct?
They could easily check at our counter with the building or planning department there. There is, we do code enforcement. It's on it's not proactive, it's reactive. It's done, by calls and complaints.
Sure.
So if a neighbor did have a problem with somebody building something without a conditional use permit, or something didn't look correct, they can file a complaint with code enforcement. And they can do that online as well.
Great. Again, I think it's a great initiative, but just to be fair to the residents and to those around, just to make sure that is something that people are aware of. And then in terms of just a question to staff, I mean, this is in regards to housing and affordable housing. How is the city, if I may ask, in terms of getting the word out, in terms of to those who might be eligible? Is there a campaign? Do we use social media? Can anybody comment on that? It's just more of a general question. I don't know if anyone can answer, but I would just make a statement in terms of staff. I mean, considering affordability is an issue, it would be helpful. I know I've come across a lot of folks that have asked that question, and they've asked many questions on what is permitted in the city.
That's a great question, Commissioner. We haven't, but we're right in the middle of updating our housing element, and we're looking at programs and things that have to do with these affordabilities and with getting the word out on different things. And this may be something that would fit right in there. I think that's a great comment and gives us something to think about. To date, we haven't. And as you know, this has been going on. I think the last 3 years we've come to you with amendments to this. We've seen a significant uptick in interest and in the number of permits that we're processing for these things. I couldn't give you an exact number, but I know in the past it was like 10 a year. And if I had to guess, I would say you're probably in the 50s or 60s or something now. So it's significant uptick in what we've seen. But I'll take that comment back to Leilani as we're working on the housing element and see if there's something in there.
Great, thanks, Scott. I would appreciate it. I think it's to value to the community and to homeowners as well, and to those future occupants.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner De La Rosa. Great questions. Any other questions or comments from other commissioners? Again, if I don't respond to you, because I probably don't see you, so please jump right in. Okay. And in fact, Scott, you answered my question, which was I was going to ask, do we have any data in terms of, are we seeing an increase in permits being filed and approved? And I'm just delighted to hear that, there's a significant uptick in this. So I can only imagine, Commissioner De La Rosa, if the city was to do a more of a proactive campaign on this outreach, I think it's fair to say that we'll see a significant number of units coming online, which I think it's part of the overall our housing crisis solution. So it's great to see that our city is responding. And hopefully we'll see more of this. If there are no other questions, we have concluded staff report. Do any of the commissioners wish to bring forward the motion to approve this item?
I would like to make the motion for us, Commissioner De La Rosa.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner De La Rosa. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Nava. Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, I will now request each member's vote by roll call, please. Commissioner Burrows?
Yes.
Commissioner De La Rosa?
Yes.
Commissioner Milburn?
Aye.
Commissioner Nava?
Yes.
Commissioner Torres?
Aye.
And Vice Chair Zaker?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, motion passes. Thank you, staff, for your work on this, and we look forward to more ADUs and junior ADUs coming online. Good stuff. We now move on to other business, and under other business, I have staff comments. Any additional comments from staff?
No additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. And chair comments, I have none, and we wish Commissioner Gutierrez all the best wishes. I know you couldn't join us tonight. And how about commissioners? Any comments, anyone?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Torres, if I may, real quickly, is that, as everybody knows, I'm on the GMOC as a planning commission rep. So I just want to alert you that the GMOC is proceeding not only with its annual report, but scheduling various meetings with regard to the overhaul of the GMOC ordinance. And at one of our last meetings, we had a really outstanding presentation on economic development by the assistant city manager, who was the economic development director, I believe, in development services, and along with staff. So without getting ahead of everybody, I anticipate probably November, December, but in the months ahead, that same presentation will be presented to the Planning Commission, as well as potential new metrics with regard and thresholds with regard to economic development will be presented to the Planning Commission for its review and input. So it'll be a very dynamic discussion, and I think you guys will have a lot to talk about at that time.
Thank you, Commissioner Torres. Thank you for your work on that. I know this is something that we've been talking about for a while, so it's great to hear that it's some progress is being done, and we look forward to having a good discussion on it at the Planning Commission. So if there are no other comments, I am going to adjourn the meeting. It is 7:19, and with that, we stand adjourned. Thank you all very much, and have a wonderful evening.
See you guys.
Thank you. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.